Being 6 p.m., I'd like to call this meeting to order. Town of Ayer, Zoning Board of Appeals. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda as published.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. First item on the agenda is a public hearing continuation from June 19th and July 17th application for variance. Eileen Hoskin,
You can come up.
come on down. ZBA will conduct a public hearing at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, June.
Yeah, you don't have to read that because we continued
We
it.
continued it.
Right, so we're just going to reopen the hearing.
All right.
Charlie, do you want a motion for that?
No, Sam can just do it. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so variance for the retaining wall?
I'm a little bit confused here.
Sure.
I was on that property 2 days ago.
You were? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't find a house or a retaining wall. Where is it?
Where's the house?
Well, I don't, if I understood the layout, James Brook Way is right here. This is,
Yes?
I think this was, the last number I saw was 13.
13.
And then there's a rope gate that said 17 JWB.
That's it.
Okay, I went in
Yep.
there, and the only thing over there is a
Big.
Connex and a trailer, and it's a big field.
There's a big field on one side and the Lindell Cedar home.
Where?
You didn't see it? It's back
No.
behind number 15.
Behind number 15.
Yes. So it looks like a big empty field with a yellow rope gate across.
Yeah,
In the summertime, we've let the weeds have grown up through the gravel of the dirt driveway. But it goes the brook and then 11, 13, 15. And our our driveway runs parallel to number 15's lot line, which you'll see is right there.
yeah.
And then as you go down further, our house is tucked behind.
So if this is James Brook Way right here,
Yeah, the house is about where, it's a little bit further the L in lot. See where it says lot 1A? So the house is right back about
the only
midway.
thing I saw was a Connex and a box trailer up there. Straight in.
Yeah, straight
Towards the
in.
other end, there's a freight trailer and a Connex box sitting down there.
There's a storage bin from Eagle Leasing and
Yeah.
there's a dumpster.
Okay,
And to the right of that is the big cedar-sided house.
never saw it, all right. Well, I needed to
Okay.
get oriented to
You
where
need to
you
go
were.
a little
I'm
bit
walking
further.
around empty field going, I don't see a wall, I don't even see a house.
Oh, sorry, you need to go a little further.
Well, I shouldn't have gone in there to begin with because it was posted.
But not for you.
Not for me. Yeah,
Not
no.
for you. For those who are narrow dwells.
I see.
Yes. I'd show you a picture, but I don't have it on my cell phone.
No.
Oh, I might, actually.
So if I understood this correctly, this lot had been surveyed, they've been laid out a couple times, and the builder went ahead and put the retaining wall in the wrong place? Is that what I understand?
Yes, so the property had been surveyed 3 separate occasions. So first for Beals, when they sold the lot. So the one that you have up there, I believe, is a takeoff of the third plan from David E. Ross. When we had the house put up, we used Vineyard Engineering, and they put in stakes all up along the driveway, and they staked out the house foundation, and they staked out the setback zones. And I have pictures of those. It's in the packet. And pictures of the stakes, pictures of them doing the foundation work. And as far as I know, when they poured the foundation, they included a straight foundation wall plus like a little retaining wall to keep the dirt out, because that's a finished walkout basement. And the dirt was already starting to sift down and around, and even during construction.
If the lot was staked, why did the builder go ahead and violate the stakes?
I have a feeling he knocked down the stakes when he was doing the wall. When we had the David E. Ross come back That's when we found the discrepancy. So the wall is actually 8.5 feet, give or take, inside the setback zone. So there's wall, setback zone, the property line. 25 feet on the other side of the property line is our own driveway easement. So it's, although it's inside the setback zone on the property line, it's also got 25 feet of buffer of our easement. You can see the access easement that runs up the left-hand side.
As I understand it, the access easement is for maintenance and safety according to DPW.
It's actually our driveway easement. It's a deeded thing that goes along with the property. So even if I were to sell the property, that easement follows the property. So that's a dedicated 1,000-foot easement from the town of Groton.
Well, no, I don't care about the town of Groton doing. What
Okay.
I'm trying to understand is how the DPW gets involved with easement right-of-way for maintenance or safety, because that's what the DPW responded with. You're 8 feet into the 25-foot right-of-way.
No, I'm 8 foot into the setback
DPW
zone.
safety and maintenance. Maintenance of what?
The wall does not extend into the easement in any way. It extends into the setback zone. So there's 25 foot of easement that we use as a driveway. There's the property line. There's the setback is to the right of that. The wall is on our property inside the setback zone. It does not go over onto the easement in any way. It's 6 feet something away from the easement.
6.5 feet from the 25-foot wide access easement. So that 25-foot wide access easement,
That's where you have your cursor.
yep.
Mhm.
Right here. So now, that's the easement you're talking about from the town of Groton, correct?
Yes.
So is there any plans at any point in time to develop the land behind you? Is it conservation restricted?
It's all conservation land on all three sides. So I own the brook to the right. Behind us is land for public trust. So that's all conservation land, town of Groton. And then to the left of us it's partly owned by the land for public trust, and there's a crescent-shaped parcel that's owned, I believe, by the town of Groton for conservation purposes. So it's all set aside as part of the Surrendon Farm conservation.
So this 25-foot wide access, right?
uh-huh.
Everything to the left of it, you're telling me is conservation land, correct?
Yes, sir.
And everything behind your property is conservation land, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Groton Conservation Land.
Right.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
Groton.
What did the contractor say when you brought it up to him?
Well, they wanted to see if we were able to get an easement.
Who
So that
was
was
it?
our contractor is Craig Wombolt. Craig and Mark Wombolt from Wombolt Homes. So that would be our first choice because it's a poured concrete wall.
Right. I mean, this one seems similar to me, like the one we had up in Pingree Hill, where the stakes got moved, they poured a foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how I'm looking at it from 30,000 feet. But
I don't have a problem with it. John? What do you think?
I don't really have a problem. I'm still confused as to where the right-of-way issue was for the objection to begin with.
Well, DPW, what he wrote was that the DPW does not recommend approval. The retaining wall is too close to the right-of-way for safety and maintenance. Now, it's got to be her right-of-way, not theirs, not ours.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was confused as to where exactly the wall was, and
Mhm.
we've discussed this.
I mean, I was confused where the house was.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't like the best plan I've ever seen either, so
No,
I can
It's a horrible plan.
Yeah.
totally understand why Mark may have been confused. But the wall is inside her property line.
Yeah. And the easement actually, for the right-of-way, it actually continues back beyond the house site, back into the trees. There's 1,000 foot, and up to like our front door there, is about 600 feet. So You have free and clear 25 feet from the street back all the way to the tree line. There's nothing in there.
Do you have any abutters for this?
I have no problem.
Ron?
The only way out of this is to take down the retaining wall. That's, I don't know.
That doesn't, based on the land, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I was thinking if there's any way out of calling this a structure, but there isn't.
No.
So it's technically a structure within it goes over the setbacks. I mean, it'd be nice if there was a simple way out of this, but there isn't.
It's retained wall. And I don't even, that's not even paved out there. I mean, it's dirt.
It's dirt.
So I don't see how.
I guess I'm
Understandably, they made a mistake, they put it in the wrong place, the contractor poured the wall. So you got two choices, either a variance or a, tear the wall out. Now, they tear the wall out, is, what are you gaining? It's a zero net gain.
I mean, I hate the idea
Yeah.
of approving a variance after construction. I absolutely hate it.
Absolutely.
The point of our board is people come to us before they do projects like this. This is, just so it's understood, this is a colossal
understood.
mess up.
It
Okay,
was.
and after the fact, this board wouldn't exist if we didn't hear things before they were built. So it's just so people understand the severity here, this is a huge, huge mistake.
I know. We were pretty mad too.
I can imagine that.
Anything else?
I would rather not add more disturbance to the area, so.
I tend to agree. I don't see a good reason to make them tear the wall up other than just being obstinate about it. You went too far, dig it up. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
I also think the fact that this thing is surrounded on three sides by conservation land, you don't intend to build another house behind this house, correct?
No.
I mean, I'm fine with making that a condition, that, you know,
It's conservation land, isn't it?
I know,
Right.
it's a big lot. I don't know if they would ever come back and try and cut it up, but
Without knowing the wetlands boundaries here, Groton versus Ayer, I mean, you might be
Right.
causing more problems for the wetland there by destroying this wall. So,
So how
Trying to
much
look for
room
ways out of
behind
this.
your house before the Groton line?
I don't think there's enough to build a house back there, or any large structure. I don't believe there's about, I think 200 feet, 300 feet before we hit the back of the lot. So you couldn't put anything back there. A large shed, but nothing, you couldn't put a house or anything back there.
condition, right?
Well, you,
Provided there's no further.
Plus, when we sited the house, we weren't able to put a leach field anywhere back there. That's why we had to site the house where we did.
it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
It didn't perk. So even if you wanted to, you couldn't put anything back there, I don't think. It's all ledge.
additionally, it's a big parcel, you can only have one primary structure per parcel. So like, they'd have to come back
Do an
here,
A&R, right?
or they could do an A&R, but if it didn't meet the criteria for that,
Dimensional requirements.
the planning board wouldn't approve it. They would have jurisdiction over that, but it certainly can put a condition on it, it's up to you guys. But it's not allowed anyway.
I mean, that, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Make a motion.
All right, that being said, I make a motion to approve the variance pursuant to Air zoning bylaw 2018 as amended October 22nd, 2018, 6.2 schedule of dimensional requirements to allow for a 6-foot, 6-inch side yard setback where 15 feet is required for this retaining wall.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
You're
you.
all set.
Very, very happy, thank you.
And I'll be in touch, I'll write up the my name.
I'll do it again.
No, let's not do that again. No, please. I want to be done building anyway. We're done, we want to be done. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who made that motion?
John, I second it.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Town of Ayer will conduct a public hearing at 6:18 PM on Wednesday, August 21st, 2019, at the Ayer Town Hall located 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432 regarding the application by Robert Williams, 5 Hedgeway, Ayer, Mass. Applicant is seeking a use variance pursuant to Ayer zoning bylaw 2018 as amended October 22, 2018, 5.0 to allow for the use of the premises as a short-term rental in a residential home.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Tracy Harding.
Point of order.
Point of order? Yes, sir?
Okay, this originally went to the planning board for, they wanted a permit for change of use. And there was a letter from Charles Schultz saying, I can't do that. You need to go to the zoning board of appeals and get a variance. So if you look at the usage, it's not a variance that applies in this case, it's a special permit. And I don't know if we can grant a permit when a variance was requested.
The council has reviewed this, our town council, because you're granting a different use at the location, that's a use variance. There's not a use special permit.
I understand, but if you go here, it says
Where are you at?
Residential use,
zoning, 5
5.2, where?
Okay, so we're in 5.3.2, bed and breakfast by special permit from the Board of Appeals.
Well, this is not a bed and breakfast. It's a short-term rental. So,
Well, okay, well, everything that I've seen told me it was a bed and
Refers it
breakfast.
to bed and breakfast,
well, that was Charlie's original, the applicant wanted to be classified as an inn, and Charlie said, wouldn't agree with that because an inn, his definition would have a innkeeper and more of like a hotel setting. This is just an Airbnb or Verbo, similar. We've conferred with council. It's adding a different use to the residence, so it would be a use variance.
So it's a change of use
Change of use.
from a residence to a rental property.
Well, it's still in the residential zone for residential use, but it's short-term rentals, which are not addressed at all in our zoning.
And if they're not there, they don't belong.
Right, well, until the town either allows the exception or does zoning for them in the future.
Well, the other thing is everybody that made comments throughout the package that you sent, they all discussed it as a B&B. And
Where did you see that?
on all the remarks from the other departments.
So,
Okay, that one says short-term rentals.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
didn't see that either, but
Yeah.
it could have been in the letters. maybe.
Yeah, I don't have the
Yeah.
copy.
It might be referring to it as an Airbnb.
yeah, Airbnb, which is like a
It's a website.
website that you can rent your house out.
Okay.
Like at Cape Cod, it's very, because it's a, obviously summer destination. So that's probably what you're,
Okay then.
yeah.
So then we're in agreement that a variance is the correct application.
Yes.
Yes.
So, again, my name is Tracy Harding. I'm here tonight with my clients are Bob and Susan Tordello Williams. And they reside at 5 Hedgeway. And we're here procedurally seeking a variance because in the past,
They reside
they
at the
do,
property?
they do reside at the property. So it's kind of an interesting case because they lived there. Originally, Charles Schultz had told them that they needed to apply for a special permit as a home occupation. That was the confusion. But then was told that they can't be a home occupation because they don't reside in the home, because part of the nature of renting the house is that they're not going to be there when someone else comes. So he said you need to apply for a use variance, and that's why we're here tonight.
So they don't live there?
They do live there.
Part-time.
They do live there, and then when
Part-time.
they rent the house, they don't live there, so someone else can come in and live there. So all times, the house is being used as a residence. So there's an argument to be made that whether they even need a variance or any type of anything, because some towns down the Cape are treating residences as residences, and it's just different people coming into the residence. But Ayer's taken the position that that can't be the case because it's not specifically provided for, even though I think there's an argument to be made on that. So I'll give you a little bit of background on what's happened and how we've gotten here today in the law, okay? So 5 Hedgeway is a unique property that's located at the end of a dead end. I don't know if anyone's gone by the property or knows where it is, but it's at the end of a dead end private road abutting Sandy Pond. So they were originally renting the property on Airbnb, which is a website that you can go to rent properties. And then they were contacted and told that they couldn't do that they needed to go through the special permit process, and now we're here seeking a variance. So as you're familiar, this board has the power to grant a variance where it finds that owing to circumstances relating to soil conditions, shape, topography of the land, show that a literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would include substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner, show that the desired relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and doing so without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the ordinance. So, having viewed the property myself, I can appreciate why people would want to rent this house. It's a unique lot that's on the water. The topography of the lot is such that it's a wide open yard with amazing views of the lake. It has a dock. It's simply a beautiful piece of property. So if the Williams are prevented from renting their house, I'd say that it's a hardship on them because they wouldn't be able to utilize the property to the fullest extent. And that relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good because the house is located at the end of a dead-end street. They have 2 neighbors to the property and the lake on the other side. The general public is not adversely impacted by their renting the property. Instead, renting their property, I would argue, could be a benefit to the town, and I'm going to discuss that in a minute. But renting their house is simply using it for its intended purpose, using it as a residence. Other people are coming in and they're using it as a residence, the same as if they lent their house to friends. So this can be done easily without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the ordinance. So a lot of people hear the term Airbnb and they instantly think, oh, this is a new and novel concept. This is amazing. Well, they're right that the concept of Airbnb, the technology, is new and novel, but people have been renting their houses for years. I mean, you've heard of people renting a lake house in the summer or a ski cottage in the winter. So rentals have been going on for years. They've just gone through the local realtor to be able to rent the property. And they would, in essence, put it up on MLS. Someone would find the property, and then they would rent it for the summer. I was up at Lake Winnipesaukee last weekend. I walked by a realtor's office. I saw a ton of properties for sale, some as much as $14,000 a week. Rental properties for sale. Those weren't Airbnb per se, but it's the same concept that's been happening for years. So now the issue is that the town of Ayer, in a sense, is arguing that the technology has happened faster than the law, that this isn't provided for in the law because the technology has changed it and made it easier for people to rent properties. But people have been renting properties in the past. And maybe even you've rented a house, or maybe you know someone that's rented a house, or Airbnb, or I know someone that rented a house recently and then said, oh, I've never done Airbnb. But yeah, you have. It's the same concept. You rented a house through a realtor. You rented a house because you found someone that had a house for sale or for rent. So I think Ayer is a great town that has a vibrant downtown, and that rentals such as this bring people to town to visit local businesses. And this property is perfect for a family renting a house to maybe attend a local wedding. An entire family could come from out of town, stay at this house, and see all Ayer has to offer. They could attend Union Coffee Roasters, they could go to the billiard place, they could visit local restaurants, and it's bringing people to town, it's putting Ayer more on the map. And Ayer's also adopted the local meals tax, which Ayer can create more revenue from, because people that are staying at a short-term rental are more likely to go out to eat than someone that lives in town. So, and as a state, Massachusetts is in favor of short-term rentals because at the end of 2018, Governor Baker signed into a law relating to specifically short-term rentals, and it provides that rentals booked after January 1st for stays after July 1st of this year will be subject to a new tax, and a state tax of 5.7%, and local municipalities can actually charge up to 6% additional tax. It applies to all rentals of 31 days or less. So Ayer could decide that they want to tax this and make additional revenue for the town. It also, the new law signed by Governor Baker, also requires owners to maintain $1 million liability insurance policy to cover the short-term rentals. And this coverage is required to defend and indemnify an owner, an operator, or any tenants in the building for bodily injury and property damage. So this isn't your typical homeowner's policy, this is above and beyond. And then each rental, new rentals now after July 1st, will need to be listed with the state short-term rental registry. And cities and towns may also, and this addresses some of the concerns that maybe the fire chief had a concern about inspections, but according to the new Massachusetts law, it says that cities and towns may implement health and safety inspection requirement and set the frequency of inspections. So I spent a lot of time researching this, and I know Airbnb, like Carly said at the beginning, is big down the Cape. So I spent a lot of time calling town halls and saying, how do you deal with this? Is this a process that is specifically provided for, or do you see it as a process that's just simply not forbidden? And no town that I could find, and I did my best to find one, but I'm not perfect and I hope I didn't make a mistake, but I could not find a town that had a specific ordinance in favor of it. They were simply taking the position that these are residences or short-term rentals, but that they're allowed under the zoning laws because people are using it as a residence. Instead, the Williams leave, I come in, it's the same thing as they lent it to a friend. Or you hear about people have a dog walker that comes and stays with their pet. Well, they go away. You don't regulate those. It's the same thing as someone that doesn't normally live there is moving in and living there for a short term. So I remember calling specifically, I called Nantucket to ask, and the lady on the phone was basically like, we don't care. They're using a house as a house. It really doesn't matter to us. So personally, I think there's an argument that maybe you don't really need it. I said that at the beginning, but you could take a different approach, and we're here trying to get a variance, doing our best to follow the rules that we've been given. So the Williams now they've been renting the property for years. When I originally checked Airbnb, there was other rentals in Ayer as well. So it's something that goes on. It's just that you guys know people aren't monitoring it and say, oh, this is new. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. But it has been happening. And they have changed who they rent to alleviate any neighbors' concerns. At a certain point, there was neighbors' concerns, and now and not all of these people are neighbors because it's a dead-end street. They can't all be neighbors, but they're here clearly, and some hopefully have something positive to say, and people are entitled to their opinions, and you can make a decision. But they have made it that they rent to families, that they vet people. So basically, if you go to a realtor and you decide to rent property, the realtor, you don't necessarily figure out who's going to rent it. The realtor might check in the information, but it might not. It might just be like, I get paid and that's it. But Airbnb or other sites, they rate hosts, they rate people that rent. So if I want to rent the property, they could find out that in the past I've rented property and had parties at it, and they don't want those type of people there. I say I'm coming in with my family, and they say that's the type of person that they want. They have a sign on their fridge that specifically provides for the parking. It says here's the parking, and it shows a map of where people are supposed to park. It has quiet hours. And they can list all of this in the restrictions of who they're renting to. And this board actually has the ability to grant the variance with restrictions. So if we hear some concerns, we can address those concerns, but still allow them to be able to utilize the house in the manner that I think they should be able to. But also know that they're trying their best to be good neighbors, and they're trying to listen to concerns. And I know in the past, people have complained, but they have specifically changed who they're renting to. So if there's some issues of past rentals, that it's different. And I think in the past, they did not know that any of this was regulated, that anyone had an issue with it, because it was going on for years, and they spoke with their neighbors about it. And nobody seemed to care. And again, when I bring it up, I think, I see all these properties listed, I saw other ones, and it's
You're
happening.
probably well aware, as the rest of us are, that there are things going on that we don't know about
Correct.
until there are complainants.
I totally agree.
And
Mhm.
at that point, because it's brought forward, we need to address it.
Correct.
Now, the fact of the matter is, it's not in our bylaws, and we're going to deal with it.
Right.
So
So-
however we deal with it is going to be based on what we find tonight.
So what we're prepared to do, or our suggestion would be that we see that there's a lot of people here, and we would like to hear what they have to say, because they are trying their best to be good neighbors. So I could hear what the complaints are and then come back up and see if we can address some of those. And we're hoping to hear that if people have an issue with the current renting of the property, if that is acceptable to the board.
Well, we're certainly going to hear what they have to say.
We're going to hear what they have to
Yes.
say. I
Right.
mean,
But-
there are a lot of people here. I imagine there's going to be a fair amount of feedback. We're going to start with
Right.
the abutters first,
Okay?
Can I jump in just before we get into that, Sam?
and I like to keep it to about 3 minutes at the most each person.
Okay?
All right, so a couple things. You talked about Nantucket.
Yes.
The residential property rate in Nantucket is about $2, and that's because they get all of their property, or their tax,
Mhm.
a lot of it from personal property from vacation homes. So
Okay.
Nantucket is unique in that it's a vacation hotspot.
Yes. Totally is.
I love Ayer. I love
Mhm.
living in Ayer. I don't view it as a vacation hotspot. And I love Sandy
Mhm.
Pond, and it's a beautiful lake, but I
But-
don't think we have the same draw that Nantucket and Cape,
I would totally agree with
Gloucester
that.
has.
But this house could.
Right. We also,
This house is completely
It
different
could.
than a different house. When I went there, I was like, I exactly know
I
why
drove
people
down
rent
there
it.
tonight. I don't disagree that it's
Yes.
beautiful, picturesque.
Mhm.
It's-
Yes,
That's one of the nice parts there.
Mhm.
It's great.
correct. There's always nice parts of it.
There are.
They're all
The
nice.
6% tax, that's the other thing.
Mhm. Yep.
So I know that in 2018 that passed, I thought it was, the town could levy up to a 3% tax, but regardless, we haven't levied that tax.
Correct.
So this is just my personal opinion. I think to grant a variance before we've levied that tax would be premature. To me, this is an issue for the planning board. I think they, obviously we went through and redid our bylaws very recently, and it took a hell of a long time. But truthfully, I think that's where this needs to be addressed.
So,
Right out the gate, I'm not.
so two comments. You did just redo the zoning bylaws.
Yep.
And it didn't prohibit it, but it's out there, and
It
everyone
didn't,
knew it
but-
was out there.
So
So
the other-
if they didn't want this and didn't want people coming before and this is their variance, they could have specifically put it in there, because people were renting. They were renting at the time.
Are you suggesting permission by omission?
No, I'm saying that, well, I think it's still a residence, but
No, that
Ayer
wasn't the
could have
question.
banned it. I don't think Ayer banned it. Personally, I don't think they banned it. I think they could have banned it, and they didn't.
So the other thing
That's-
we did talk about was the fact that
The tax.
towns hadn't put up bylaws to regulate a lot of these
Yep.
Airbnbs that have allowed it. But I did look up a little bit before I came in here, and I looked
Yeah.
up Brookline. Brookline specifically said they aren't allowing it. Again, Ayer and Brookline might not be the
Right.
same communities, but they've put bylaws in place
Correct.
that absolutely refuses.
And
We may be a little bit behind Brookline, but I think this is something, again, that we need to have addressed in our zoning bylaws. That's,
I guess we're in agreement that Brookline did ban it, and that Ayer did just redo the zoning bylaws, and Ayer didn't ban it.
well,
So that's why
Doesn't
we're,
mean Ayer
Right.
considered it. It didn't
Right.
consider it.
right, but we just have a difference of opinion, fine. I'm just doing my best to present my case.
And Mr. Chair, and there's always a list, and as many people in this room know, the planning board didn't have a planner. It didn't have a budget for like 3 years. So we are behind the 8 ball. This is on their list to regulate, to incorporate. I mean, there's many things. We're just doing form-based codes now. And unfortunately, you have to fall within a town meeting schedule. So it's not like the planning board could meet next week and adopt anything. That being said, it is on their list of things, but they're still playing catch-up from having no planner and not having a planning board or a budget for 3 or 4 years. So we are admittedly behind the town, compared to Brookline and
Okay,
We have some.
we have stuff from economic development and the planner and everything else, which we should probably discuss, but I think that would be after the public input portion.
Thank you.
Abutters. Sir, you have a butter?
Well, I'm not a legal abutter.
I asked for the abutters first, sir.
I know you did. So, no, I'm not an abutter. I didn't get a notice. But I have a petition here signed by several of the abutters and several of the neighbors. There's 52 names on this petition, and they're all against the granting of the, I got a copy for Attorney Howard, which
Thank
is
you.
respectful.
So what's your name?
My name's Robert Gardner, 78 Sandy Pond Road.
Thank you.
I've owned the property since 1978, and I'm a long time,
Are the signatories in the room?
some of them are, yes. Yeah, some of them lived down there for 70 years.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, if you want, I'll sit down and I'll wait for the neighbors' opportunity to speak.
Are you speaking for the entire group?
No. I don't purport to speak for the entire group. But I have this petition, I'd like to submit it in the record.
I mean, I'd be interested to hear what Mr. Gardner
And
has to
just for
say.
the record, it says, "We, the undersigned abutters and neighbors of 5 Hedgley, Ayer, Mass. Object to any action taken by the zoning board of appeals that would allow the petitioners, Mr. Williams and Mrs. Fidella Williams, I apologize if I mispronounced the name, to operate a short-term rental units occupied for a period of time by different occupants on the aforementioned property." So, it addresses the issue that you're addressing here. So if I can be given a little latitude, I might be able to summarize some of what the abutters and neighbors would say. All right, thank you. First of all, I have the utmost respect for Attorney Harding, but to be able to say because you're renting it short term, it's used not as a bakery or not as a pizza place, but as a residence, and it's therefore allowed. I mean, there's several areas in the zoning bylaw that do not allow that, and they specifically state in the zoning bylaw that if it's not allowed, it's not necessarily permissible. So I think the first issue you have, similar to what Mr. Ellis talked about, is whether in fact you even have the legal authority to grant a variance under these terms. But let's say you look at 1.04 and 5.1 of your bylaw and you find out where it says, in essence, I'm not quoting, I'm just summarizing, that it's not permitted, it's not necessarily allowed. Just because the planning board maybe hasn't had the foresight or the knowledge. And granted, things do change pretty rapidly in this day and age. But I think what Attorney Harding would have you believe is because somebody is renting their house out as a residence and people come on the basis of a month or a week or whatever, it's not really a change in use. To follow that to the absurdity, that would be like saying, well, I ought to be able to convert my house into a motel and rent it out daily because it's still, I'm just renting beds for people to spend the night, not to use other things. But if you reach that it is a residential use, then respectfully, I think a lot of the abutters and neighbors would say that that type of use is vastly different than just renting out a short-term rental or even a rental without a lease. Tenancy will is essentially defined as month to month to month. But you don't have people that are renting short-term that are gonna move their residence, their permanent residence, like you would on a tenancy at will rental. You don't have people that are gonna come down to town hall, register to vote, and register to insure their car. And if they happen to be sexual offenders, they'd have to register their new residents under the Sexual Offender Registration Board, the SOAR board. So that's not called for either, and that's not just my opinion. I think there's a police officer in the audience that you could ask relative to that whole situation. And I don't have anything against Mr. and Mrs. Williams, particularly, and I understand about the fullest extent of your property. Well, that, if you follow that logic, that means everybody should try to rent their house out, at $500 a day and try to maximize the value of your house. And if they really are living there or living there in a little trailer that they apparently constructed or purchased, does that really entail living? And is it allowing two families and a single family residence? Is it a valid situation where they really do reside there? So, I would say that, I understand, the highest and best use of the property, it might be a gas station. Does that mean we all should convert our homes to gas stations so that, we're going to maximize the use? I think he is doing pretty well, in all due respect to Attorney Harding. From my perspective, of basically living here for 71 years on and off, excluding schools and things of that nature, with their Main Street and whatever, and whether or not the town's going to eke out 3% more in taxes or whatever. I mean, the pond isn't really set up to have these transients come in and out. And this isn't meant to be disrespectful of anybody that they rent to or things of that nature. But, there's no pride and ownership. I mean, people come in maybe just to share Sandy Pond's benefits for a week. That's true, but they might come in to have a class reunion party or to have a wedding, and they do some potentially destructive things in the neighborhood, parking on the gun club property. One of the signatories is the executive director of the gun club, and they're opposed to it. I mean, they don't really want people. Their complaint, I think, was that people were parking on the gun club property, and they shouldn't be parking there. And I'm not faulting because people park wherever they want, and I'm not saying that the Williams told them to park there. So I just think that it just does violence to the whole sense of zoning, because in essence it's creating constant overflow or turnover of different people to the pond. I live right across the pond, so I can look out my back window and see them. That's fine. But when you have the pond there, people using boats and things of that nature, all of a sudden it does affect, I would suggest, probably everybody in the room that lives on the pond, because it's going to create some hazards and nuisances and things of that nature. So that's why I'm so concerned about the whole situation. And if you have any other questions, I'd certainly be willing to answer them. Just for myself, Bob Gardner is a neighbor.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, everybody.
Could we hear from any abutters
Not
about
yet.
experiences? Could we hear from any direct abutters as to actual experience?
Direct abutters? Please.
I'm in the property right next door to the
Your
Williams.
name, please.
Helen Berry.
And your
And-
address?
12 Harris Lane is where I live now, we're at 3 Hedgeway, right?
What?
We're right next door to them, 3 Hedgeway. The property I own, we currently rent it out to long-term tenants. And in the time I've lived there, I lived there before we had tenants, and I've known the Williams to be people that, as you were saying, make a decision to do something and then deal with the consequences of it afterwards. For example, when I lived there, and still the case is that road, the end of that road is right away for all of the people who live there to be on the pond. And we always had kept it as such. And when the Williams moved in, within a short time, there was a big dumpster in the middle of the road. And even though we asked for them to move it, they took their sweet time and then they moved it. Another instance is the fact that they pulled up one of those tiny house trailer things on the property, right next to my property line. And I, owning the property or having my tenants in there, have the right to have that beautiful view also. But I ended up having a view, they ended up having a view of a tiny house that we had no control of. So my experiences with the Williams have been such that they do these things, and then when there are complaints, maybe they'll address them. So my fear with this is that things may happen, as we were talking about different instances, and then we have to complain about them for them to be resolved, if they are at all. So this is my experience with these situations, and I would have to go on record as saying, and my name's not even on the petition, but I would have to go on record as saying I would hope that you wouldn't grant the variance.
Your renters now,
Mm-hmm.
have they complained to you about anything?
Many
Yes, they
times, and their names are on the petition.
In what regard, may I ask?
People parking on the property, the tiny house, all the different traffic that's there. I think my tenants are under the impression that there's gonna be a lot more traffic, which I believe there probably is. I mean, if you rent a house to a bunch of
We got a
people,
layout of this place, this land?
Can you get it on your Google Maps?
Yep.
I do, sir.
There's a, We
It's
didn't-
20, is it 22.8 or 22.1?
it's on the application. Yeah, so it's, oh, you have this.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't have them do, obviously, a plot plan. We didn't need that. But,
Yeah, we didn't need a plot plan.
but I can bring it up like on Google Earth so you can get an idea.
Okay. 'Cause all I've got is this.
Right.
And it doesn't tell me a lot.
I know.
It just says, here's the
Well,
road,
It's on the
I-
application.
So it's
This is the
this
first,
one right here.
22.8.
my bringing it up is the first time anyone has even said anything about the right-of-way. End of that road is a right-of-way for anyone on that street to use that pond. And if they're going to rent to
Well,
people.
that's not really what it says. It says
It is.
private way. It says deeded rights.
Deeded rights.
Yeah.
It's not a right of way, it's a private way.
It's deeded rights if you own the property.
Yes.
Right.
It belongs to the property owner.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Accepted by the town.
It's a private
But putting a dumpster
way.
or parking in front of it.
No, I
infringes
just
upon
want to make sure I'm clear on this.
Sure.
It's not a right of way that anyone can use it. It's a private way for the property owner. So there's a
Exactly.
difference.
So that's why we're contending that it's kind of put a hardship on us.
So that's it?
That's it, that's it.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
So is this you?
That's my garage and your arrow's on my house. Yep, that's the
Okay.
garage, and then move to the left, that's my house.
So this is the house.
This
we're
is the house in
talking about right
question,
there?
yeah.
And where's the tiny house?
Where's the tiny house?
In the tree.
Yeah, it's pushed
Here?
back,
Okay.
yeah. You can see, it's very visible from the road, obviously not from the air, but very visible. And most of that area in between the houses is my property, so that tiny house is right smack on the edge of it, in all its glory.
And also,
You are, sir?
I'm David
This is
Berry.
my husband, he and I manage the property together.
If you look, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the driveway at 6 o'clock, you should be able to take a left. There are neighbors also that use that driveway, that it goes from hedgeway to ledgeway.
Well, yeah, this
Yes.
entire piece from here down.
That's the street.
Belongs to
That's
the
the-
property owners, that's the
Right,
private
but what I'm
way.
saying is that by parking and stacking cars, you cut off access.
Yeah.
To the next street
To the
over.
next street over.
The Meadow Brookway?
I think that's what it's called, is that, it cuts
That's
through.
That's Meadowbrook Way right there.
No, that's
That's
right.
right road. That's right road, sir.
Where's Meadowbrook Way?
This little road here that looks like a driveway.
The company's gonna say, so what
Here?
I'm just describing is Meadowbrook Way.
This is
Yes.
Meadowbrook?
Yes.
This is,
And then that leads to the next street over.
Oh, that's the case.
Yeah.
this is Meadow.
So that's right there? All right. Thank you. Another abutter? Yes, sir.
Dean Ryder. I actually live at their rental property on number 3 Hedgeway. I have not just been a transient like the ones we're concerned of. I've been there for almost 12 years. Their representation likes to use words like years. They've been renting this house out for years, and there's never been a problem. Let's be clear, years have been 3. This is still something very new. As far as them not being approached by myself or other neighbors about issues in the neighborhood, such as parking, they've been approached numerous occasions over the course of the first 2 years that they were renting out their property. It took us being here today for them to do something a few months ago. And as far as the picture doesn't really do it justice, but that road Hedgeway is about as wide as one car.
I got a Mazda, and I went down there tonight. It's a tiny little truck. A 3-point turn. I was in your front yard.
Yeah. So for the first 2 years that this was going on, and still on occasion now, more than I'd like to deal with, there's cars lined up along the side of the road. When that happens in my pickup, I can't even get in my own road without walking into a house with people I don't know and knocking on the door and asking them to move all of their cars. I've been challenged on numerous occasions on whether or not I have the authority to ask them to move or whether they need to move. I've had people who've rented from them when I've been on the private way to the water. I have a little boat down there, and I also do fishing down there. I've been in the past challenged by people that rent from them because their property is right there. I had a woman say to me, "This is private property, you need to leave." A lot of the things that haven't been brought up to Mr. and Mrs. Williams haven't been brought up because they're never there. June through September, I'm sorry, let me just finish this. June through September, they're there periodically, in between the renters, for a day, maybe 2 days. Now they have the tiny house, which before it was even constructed, I posed complaints to the building inspector about. They have since moved the tiny house from my back door, essentially, to right behind their house, which is not in, this picture must predate that, but it's clear as day. And one of my concerns with that is if they were allowed to build this tiny house, and they get variance from you folk to rent out the property, what's to keep them from not only renting out that tiny house, but building more and renting them out as well? If I couldn't stop them from building one, how are we gonna stop them from building more? You wanted to say something?
I had a question. You mentioned that you had to talk to the tenants versus the owners. If you had to talk to the owners and they're not in residence, how do you do that? How do you reach them?
Sometimes they travel abroad a lot, so we recently, actually one of my other neighbors is here tonight. We recently had an issue with, right on my front lawn, I was at work on a Saturday, and please, this will get to your question. There was cars parked on my front lawn, and my neighbor, on the other side of me, tried contacting Mr. and Mrs. Williams to have them have the cars moved. They were unable to be reached. I don't know if they were traveling abroad or what. So usually if people are there renting, they're not there, and sometimes they're reachable, sometimes they're not. So one of the last things I like to say is, typically I'm the type of person that your property is your property, do what you want. The only reason this has become such an issue, and the only reason why there's 52 signatures there, is because of the repeated attempts of, please don't park here, please don't park there. We have been basically policing our own neighborhood for the past almost 3 summers. And it gets a bit annoying coming home from work at least twice a week and having people move their cars. or ask them, you know, you're blocking the private way going down to the water, could you please move? You're blocking a fire hydrant, which is also one on that corner. Can you please move? This is something that the neighbors and I have policed ourselves over the past 2 years. I find it only fair that if the town decides to go through with this, then they should be prepared to put up have the highway department put up no parking signs on the side of the road. And I also think the town should be prepared for the list of calls that they're gonna get, because we're not gonna be policing it anymore. You know, anything from noise complaints to parking complaints. There's a lot that we've done, and we've tried to keep it in-house. Obviously, we know the police department has better things to do, and we haven't had any situations where we felt it was a safety issue and we need to get the police involved. But we can't do this forever. You know, I may not live there forever, but I've lived there for 12 years. And I think that I've come to know the neighborhood really well. I think I know the people really well. A lot of us get along great, and I love living there. But I did not, when I moved there 12 years ago, I did not move there because I wanted to live next door to a hotel. So that's just my 2 cents. I thank you guys.
Why did it take this long?
Because, well, that's another thing that, you know, their council will bring up, is that, you know, this has been going on for years. Now the town of Ayer is attacking them, you know, out of the blue. Well, the reason why this is becoming an issue now, and the reason why we're all sitting here now, is because of the number of complaints that have gone on, especially with the building inspector, as far as I know, when they built the tiny house. And then from there, which was about a year ago till about now, it's just snowballed. And I have a feeling, although I can't say this for sure, I have a feeling that other members in the neighborhood have called other departments, and I think that's how we've gone to where we are now. I think it's just a lot of people, more than 52, that have just basically kind of had enough. And I think I love everyone in the neighborhood, and it's definitely the type of neighborhood where everyone gets along. But when you ask someone, can you know, there's been times where I've come home and there's been cars parked in my driveway. Granted, it's only been on 2 occasions the past few years, but it's happened. And nor do I want to deal with it, but the people who live in the house after me, I don't think they should have to deal with it either. So I thank you guys, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
So,
Yes, sir?
so can I just, before it starts, can I just pop in real quick? All right, so, one of the things Mr. Ryder just said is this was a piece about self-policing. Truthfully, I mean, I think we've heard a lot already. I don't see any point in further disparaging the Williamses. I don't think that they necessarily mean any harm to the neighborhood or discomfort to their neighbors. But again, what I think Mr. Ryder just said about that self-policing thing, I think that is the issue here. We don't have bylaws that address this. I'm not comfortable going forward with this and granting a variance.
But this was a posted public hearing, and they have the right to speak. And we are obligated to listen to this.
They came down, and I don't
agree. I just
disagree
don't want to
with
see
you.
the Williamses be disparaged. I understand that maybe this is
It's not a finger-pointing exercise, but
but that's what it's becoming. But
It is.
I'm okay with hearing.
demonstration by example, I think.
Okay.
This is why we have a room full of people. This is what they,
And I understand that, and I think Mr. Gardner presenting a 52 signature, a petition with 52 signatures on addresses
That's-
a lot. That's the whole neighborhood.
That's
I mean, I
fair.
drove down Wright Road. That's a lot of folks over there, and I get that. Like I said, I just don't want to see the Williamses, be disparaged here. They don't mean their neighbors harm. I mean, everybody still is going to live next to each other tomorrow.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to.
My name is Bruce Clary. I'm on One Right Road where the red car is.
Yep.
How do you spell your last name?
Cleary. Clary.
What's the address?
One Right Road.
Okay, thanks.
I don't believe the Williams have meant any harm,
Yep.
but I'm not here to point the finger at them. They're trying to do what they're doing. But my issue, and everyone's issue, is what you've been hearing, is the fact that there's no privacy. I have a small child. Well, it's not small anymore, but I have a child. And I just want to be granted the same rights that they were with their children, the privacy that they have. The fact that I have to contact them, and you're asking me how we they asked before how we contact, by phone, when they're not around. Do they answer? Sometimes. This last time that Mr. Ryder spoke about, that was us that tried to contact them and tell them. Nothing happened. We didn't hear back from you. This has been on more than one occasion. We're very nice people. The neighborhood gets along well. The privacy is just not there. We go down to the end, everyone looks at us. I've been asked multiple times, do you live here? Yeah, I live here. I own that house right there at the end. This is my right to be here with my family. And it's always that way. And there's more than one occasion where there's cars lined up all the way through. I've had to call the cops. I've had to call them. I've had to police myself because it's easier and more effective. It's just, this is not the area for that. This should be a family and private area. It is a very nice area, and I would love for it to be kept that way. It's just, it's too much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
I think I have a solution
I'd
You
rather
have-
hear,
I know there's only,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to cut anyone off.
there's still the butters.
I know it.
Still about it.
Can I
Hey.
just speak for 1 minute?
Please.
The reason is because you addressed the number of abutters, and I've spoken with the Williams, and they've agreed to withdraw their application. So I thought that I should interrupt for that reason versus having everyone speak and then come forward after the fact and waste a lot of people's time.
Point of information, if it's withdrawn, that means they.
I know what it means.
We know, yeah, they can reapply.
Maybe
I-
you should tell maybe you should tell the group.
Explain that to us.
Sure. So by withdrawing the application, they can reapply. I mean, can we say we accept the withdrawal of prejudice? I don't know.
But will it cease? It's not ceasing. It's still
If
going
you
on.
have to
want to
cease,
do
right?
the withdrawal with
No.
prejudice, you can. I think there's a lot of people here and I'm trying to solve the problem.
Let's,
Withdraw is in, this is gonna happen again at a later date, we're gonna show back up here again?
Right. Exactly.
Hold on.
Fine.
I don't think they realize the number of people that would be opposed to this, to be honest.
thank you.
My concern is, I mean, just having read about Airbnbs and affecting different towns and cities, it's this sort of situation that often triggers a town to pursue bylaws addressing these and regulations. And I hope that by withdrawing the application, that doesn't stop the town moving forward with considering that its zoning bylaws need to be updated to deal with Airbnbs, tiny houses, et cetera. That-
I don't think it will. I think the planners will proceed forward. But I'm on a different thought process. So
Likewise.
I understand what you said. Do you still wish to speak, ma'am?
Yeah, I do. I'm the other owner here at 2 Kedgeway. My name is Mary Urban. My family has owned this house since the early 70s. And it was owned by the Shavers before this. And my mother still resides there as with a life will, life estate. My brother is there with me also. We have had an 83-year-old lady who can't even take her little scooter down that common right-of-way because it's blocked off. There's been issues with an ambulance that needs to come in for my mother on not being able to make the turnaround appropriately onto that little piece of land because the cars block it. There's been noise levels in the evening, which makes it difficult for people also. For me personally, Ayer's been a great place to live, and it was a wonderful place as a young adult to grow up, to enjoy the lake, to enjoy the community as a whole. But at this point now, there's no real enjoyment, there's no privacy, there's no nothing there for any of us. And I'm concerned for my mother at this point because she can't utilize her last years at the lake and enjoy being able to take her little scooter with somebody to go down to the lake without, as Dean said, without her renters making comments, without an ambulance having issues and having to ask for people to move. We shouldn't have to do this. That's really all I have to address on it.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
This is a point of clarification. If it's withdrawn, does that mean it's terminated until it's approved?
I'm sorry, does it mean what?
If they withdraw their application for variance, does that mean that the business stops? Because clearly it's a business.
The business should have stopped already.
So that doesn't stop going forward.
That's not.
That's not.
Does it stop on a go-forward basis because you haven't granted the variance?
That is a good question.
I can, if you want. Technically, the building commissioner, if they withdraw the application and there's still complaints of renters, the building commissioner could fine the property owners. But if they were to reapply for this same use variance while the town is addressing the Airbnb as a whole, the same process would happen. It would be a new application. Everyone would get re-notified. There'd be a new public hearing. So most people, because it is costly to apply with the ZBA, they don't just withdraw because they have to restart from square one again if they do go forward. So, you know,
Just for clarification, there's a cease and desist right now.
there's not a cease and desist right now
So,
because it started this process.
So,
So
Mr.
there's
Mr.
still
Chairman,
application.
yeah.
We're still having
I
that.
didn't say that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just to follow through, could we ask what the intent of the attorney respectfully is with withdrawing the application? Does that mean that the intent is not to go forward with the business as it?
The intent is to not seek the variance. I didn't realize the number of people that would be opposed to it. They were trying to be good neighbors. I know there's been disagreements on that. They felt like they had addressed the concerns and that those things that were talked about, the parking issues, they did not feel that those things had happened this summer. And they thought that they had addressed them when the number of people that had shown up and the people are talking, and then when Mr. Gibbons had talked about, you know, the disparaging and how long this was going to go on, I thought it'd be best to talk to them, and we decided to try to withdraw the application, and that they are not going to reapply for this application. We're hoping that Ayer is going to proceed with the process of regulating short-term rentals, and we'll come up with some type of procedure, and in the future, if their property qualifies under the rules that Ayer sets, then they would proceed. If that happens, but
continue to rent the property?
right now they are not accepting any new rentals, and
Now, what
there's,
about existing rentals that have not stayed there for the season
as far
as
as,
of yet?
can I take a brief recess and talk to them? I don't want to provide misleading information.
So,
Let us finish our business, I think. We need to finish this.
can I ask you a
They've
question?
indicated that they can cancel future listings, so there would not be any future listings, which seems that it would alleviate everyone's concerns in the room tonight.
So if they're willing to withdraw,
I don't want to do that.
Can I ask another point of information, Mr. Chairman? I know a little bit about the process to adopt a bylaw in communities. What's to prevent them from coming in and saying to the building inspector that they've got a non-conforming use, because they've been renting it out previously for now for 3 years. So they can come in and try to qualify as a non-conforming use, even if the bylaw is ultimately adopted.
That was their first application.
No, it was to do a home occupation because they were told they needed to do a home occupation. And they didn't complete an application, they were told they needed to complete an application, and then it was told that's not the right process. So we came here to do the variance.
and that's why the,
We heard that they were doing it for 2 or 3 years.
I have a question.
the building commissioner wasn't formally made aware until this year.
Well, I'm not faulting
Yeah.
anybody, I'm just saying.
So if rather than accept the withdrawal, we take a vote and we deny, what right do they have to come back?
2 years, they have to wait 2 years to reapply.
They
So
could,
that could be,
it can wait 2 years to reapply, or they could appeal your decision to a
Court, land court.
land court.
But if we accept the withdrawal, how soon can they come back?
Next month, if they
Next
want.
month? Yes.
Then I would recommend that we do.
Make a motion.
I make a motion.
Ken, did you have,
All set, that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
sorry, John.
Okay, I make a motion that we refuse the
Deny.
withdrawal.
We deny the application
And we
as
deny
submitted.
that. Well, yeah, that would be my, we have to do that separately?
No,
No,
No, we don't have to vote to it.
so your motion is to deny the application.
Takes the withdrawal out.
Yeah, takes the withdrawal out.
Okay, then I make a motion that we deny the application by Robert Williams, 5 Hedge Way, for use
Yeah, that's
pursuant to Ayers, a
yeah.
short-term rental.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been denied.
How about the tenants that are staying there now?
Yeah, there's tenants there today.
That will be an issue for Charlie to handle, correct?
We'll
We'll
pass
address
this
it with
along
the
to
building commissioner.
And we're not, listen, we are good neighbors, we're not looking to evict the tenants today. We're
They're the
not.
last one.
But if we were all good neighbors, we all wouldn't be sitting here.
I understand.
Let's not get the pitchforks and
Right.
fires.
Yeah. But I do,
It will be forwarded to the building commissioner tomorrow, but he will be reasonable with the current tenants.
Yeah.
I mean, let's all agree on
Right,
that.
you can,
No.
But they
Yeah,
were
you
concerned
can't- he
about
doesn't- he couldn't
book
do that anyway.
tenants. They were concerned about book tenants.
There
who
won't
have
be any more.
reservations and have not come yet. That's what they're
Right,
asking.
but then they said they would cancel future, or the already booked
They
ones.
said they wouldn't take any more bookings.
No, and then she said they would
Said they would
cancel.
They
cancel.
said
just
we wouldn't
denied
take
it.
any more bookings if it was gonna be withdrawn.
So the
So
motion
now the
carried?
decision's been denied,
Did the
and
motion
they're gonna,
carry? Motion to carry, thank you.
the decision's been denied and it proceeds according to the rules of the denial.
That's right.
Yes.
And it'll
versus-
be forwarded upstairs.
Correct, 100% versus our offer in a sense, just to clarify.
Well, I think the building
And
commissioner will look at it a little
Look,
different.
there's a 21-day appeal period. I'm assuming that might be what you're referring to, Ms. Harding. So for the next 21 days, is it?
20.
20 days
There's
after
a
the decision
20-day
is written.
appeal after any decision is made. So that would, you would appeal to a land court, so for Superior Court. So, and I'm gonna get a sign-in sheet, and I forgot to do that tonight, but, they could appeal the board's decision and seek an overturn. If they withdrew it, they couldn't do that. But the ZBA acted, so there's a 20-day appeal. So to me, Charlie, next steps for 20 days, his hands are tied under the state law for enforcement under the appeal period, which is 20 days from tomorrow, so.
So, just a question, so any complaint forward now needs to go to the building inspector?
Building commissioner, yep, Charlie Schultz, yep.
Is there any public notices there if there is an appeal?
Yep, so that's why I'm gonna get a sign-in sheet, so we can have that. So the appeal, if it is filed, the copy will be sent to the town clerk's office. And yeah, we can send this around, actually, thanks, Bob. If you wanna, if you're interested in getting further information on the case, you know, write it down, and then we can reach out either way.
I agree.
No, it's, once it's denied, it's denied, but you have to wait out the appeal.
Right, now you go to land court.
They go to land court, right.
go on the record.
Yeah.
So if you'd like information could directly conveyed to you about the status of the appeal, please sign the yellow pad that Bob has Mr. Gardner right now. Yeah, phone number and address would be great.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for 5 Edgeway.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Good to see you.
Where you going, John? John, we're not done yet.
I know, I'm just grabbing this.
Must have all his gold in there.
I'm just grabbing this.
Big wad of cash.
Bag of
We
M&Ms.
haven't done that.
It's just as valuable, yes.
Yeah.
But you can tell them to clear.
We have a little silence, please. We're still in session.
They can't quite leave it when they sign in.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, approval of the minutes of meeting for July. Did you read them, John?
I did. I have no questions.
I didn't say anything.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
All right, and my friends. You will?
Second.
July 17th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next meeting is September 18th.
Yeah,
Got
we
everything?
have, not yet. Technically, we have till next Tuesday. Well, to get an application. Technically, we have till Tuesday after that, because we can put it in the Lowell Sun that last week. But we haven't received anything yet.
All right.
So it'd be September 18th.
I make a motion to adjourn at 7:15.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.